On that note, we will be looking at service, modern service industries now, which is a different segment because most of the things that we've looked at and the classical form of sales is products. You manufacture something and you sell, but it's the age of services, right? Services are huge. Even though there are products being sold, it looks like it's a service. Service has taken over. Service has kind of absorbed the traditional approach to business itself. So let's take a brief look at, or let's take a look at services as well. It's fairly straightforward, right? You know what service means. It's offering something intangible, essentially, right? So, however, there are specific differences between manufacturing operations and service operations, right? Like the lack of inventory. So what we do is to understand, or the best way to understand services is to look at the characteristics of services. And generally, your syllabus speaks about 5 characteristics: intangibility, and you know what that means. It's something that you cannot really touch. Heterogeneity, because it's different. Services differ from one to the other, right? Whatever happens, no matter what kind of service you are providing, depending on the different consumers you're dealing with, the service will differ. So services are not generic. Products, of course, you can buy the same product without a fear. You know that if you buy this ipad or that ipad or the ipad from there, doesn't matter, it's the same ipad you're buying. But with services, things are not the same. Like if you take like auto mechanic, then you do realize that different auto mechanics are of different levels. They have different kinds of knowledge, they have different kinds of customer service approaches, etc., right? So all of that comes into play. Teaching, everything. Simultaneity. So the idea is that now something like this, right? If teaching is considered the conventional form of teaching, not necessarily this recorded form, but conventional classroom teaching, the teacher is teaching while the student is studying. So it's at the same time. You don't really stay. Like if you buy some food, you can leave it and then have it tomorrow. So it's not simultaneous, but it's not that you are eating as it's being manufactured, as the food is being prepared. But what happens with services is that most of the time it is simultaneous. While the service is being provided, you are getting the service. Perishability. So the idea is that there is like, of course, with technology things have become a little different, especially something like teaching, where I can utilize recorded content, right? So there is a stock. You can call it stock, you can call it inventory. But again, even though if it's recorded, you have to watch it for you to learn it, right? So while you're watching it, so that simultaneity is still there. And recording can be limited, like how Netflix does. I think Netflix is going to limit password sharing from 2023, I heard. So then this perishability is added to the level of service. But otherwise, what happens with services is that most of them, or almost all of them, you cannot carry stocks, right? And no transfer of ownership. So because of the simultaneity, the fact that if your consumer is consuming a service, or if you're getting a service, you have to, like, the service has to be provided at the same time, makes it non-transferable, because it's not something that you can keep for some time and maybe give it to someone else or something like that. Again, it can be challenged, I understand, especially the last two, perishability and no transfer, can be challenged as an idea. These are a little old. This is coming from 1970s, around that time. So don't worry about it too much. Just understand that especially the last two, a bulk of services have those qualities. Okay, so for us, what is relevant? How do we really measure service quality? Because quality is a major factor. You have an entire chapter dedicated to quality as well. So with all of this, how do you really deal with performance measurement? You have to find the right KPIs. You have to find the relevant KPIs. So if you have good KPIs, relevant KPIs, um, measurable KPIs, quantifiable KPIs, like soundness, because most of these services, it's difficult to kind of, because of the intangible nature and the simultaneity in it, it's difficult to really gauge the quality, because it's very subjective. If someone provides the quality, like my teaching, you could say it's moderate, another person could say it's great, another person, the same teaching, the same, say, let's say this set of videos, not everybody likes it, let's say. So that is obviously a possibility, because different people have different subjective approaches to gaining and judging. So because of this, it's very difficult to quantify and get a proper measure of services, but you try to do your best. You do your best. Essentially, what you will have to do is what you do always. You come up with the CSFs, develop the KPIs, you measure, you track, and you try to keep controlling. There's a few guidance points given: identifying KPIs, assembling KPI information, analyzing the information, giving guidance to the organization based on that insight, and applying what you have learned to help the organization in the future. So these are the things how services can get improved, or service quality can get improved. Of course, what has happened is that technology is playing a major role. It's playing a massive role in measuring service quality. Now, see something like customer feedback, right? You have the aggregate 5 star out of 5 stars. It's a 4 stars or 3 stars. That's a huge thing for a lot of consumers. Many customers are now, especially who are buying online, if they want to gauge the service quality, they look at the ratings provided by customers, etc. So that has become a good metric, and that is something that traditionally would seem completely impossible to quantify, has now been quantified purely based on technology. So that is something you can remember. And that brings us to the next segment, which is business integration, which we will look at very soon. Good luck.